In the quiet suburban town of Crestwood, located on the edge of a bustling city, lived a man named David Jones. He was once a baseball legend, but his glory days had faded and he was grasping for any semblance of relevance. That's when he turned to the digital world, scouring Craigslist in search of potential home workers. On a sunny afternoon, a young woman named Emma sat down at her laptop and her fingers danced across the keyboard, typing a resume. She had recently moved to Crestwood in search of new opportunities and was determined to find a job that would help her establish herself in the community. The ad she stumbled upon seemed perfect, a part-time housekeeper position for a retired baseball player. Emma's heart raced with excitement, and she sent in her application. A few days later, a letter appeared in her mailbox. It was from David Jones himself, inviting her to an interview at his huge mansion on the outskirts of town. The address seemed imposing, but Emma wasn't confused. She was eager to make a favorable impression and get the job. On the day of the interview, Emma carefully chose her outfit and rehearsed her answers to possible questions. She made her way along the winding roads leading to the mansion, her anticipation growing with each kilometer. When she finally pulled up to the gated entrance, her heart pounded in her chest. The mansion loomed before her, displaying wealth and success. Emma took a deep breath, gaining confidence, and pressed the intercom button. A menacing voice came through the speaker and ordered her to enter. The gate slowly opened and Emma drove down the winding driveway, her palms sweating on the steering wheel. David Jones was waiting on the steps of his mansion when Emma parked the car. He held out his hand and Emma shook it, trying to ignore the shiver that ran down her spine from his gaze. He led her inside, and as she crossed the threshold of the front door, she felt a sense of awe and anxiety. The interview began innocently enough. David asked her about her previous work experience, her skills and aspiration. But as the conversation progressed, his questions took a strange turn. He began making inappropriate remarks, his tone becoming more intrusive with each passing moment. Emma felt uncomfortable but pushed it aside, choosing to focus on the possibility of getting a job. Then, without warning, David's demeanor changed. His eyes darkened and he pulled a gleaming knife from his pocket, holding it a few centimeters from Emma's face. Her heart raced and her mind had no time to realize the sudden danger. He demanded that she submit to his demands, threatening her with the deadly weapon he held in his hand. Tears came to Emma's eyes from fear and despair. She pleaded with David, promising to do whatever he wanted if he would only put the knife down. The moments stretched on, each second turning into an eternity of terror. But fate had other plans. Just as the situation began to seem hopeless, there was a loud cracking sound in the mansion. David loosened his grip on the knife, and in that split second, Emma seized her chance. She rushed toward the nearest exit, and the sound of her rumbling footsteps filled the air. She burst through the doors and stumbled down the steps, not daring to look back. The town of Crestwood was shocked by the news that followed. The story of David's twisted interviews and his assault with a deadly weapon spread like wildfire. The once baseball legend became a pariah, his name synonymous with darkness and danger. In the courtroom, justice prevailed. The charges against David Jones were no lightweight. The evidence against him was undeniable, and the testimony of the victims painted a chilling picture of his actions. Charges of lewd acts and assault with a deadly weapon led to a conviction that sent him to prison for 270 days. The story of David Jones' downfall was a cautionary tale, a reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and that even those who were once famous can lose their nobility. In a small town lived Mark Reynolds, a middle-aged man known for his love of antique calculators. Was preparing to part with his most prized possession, a graphing calculator. Mark decided to put the calculator up for sale, hoping to find a collector who would appreciate its unique capabilities. His advertisement caught the attention of Henry Mitchell, an enigmatic figure known for dealing in rare artifacts. Intrigued by the offer, Henry contacted Mark and suggested they meet at a secluded location just outside of town. On a foggy afternoon, Mark took a cab ride to the necessary meeting place. It was a small clearing deep in the forest. The air was saturated with anticipation. He arrived before Henry and waited for him for about 10 minutes. Soon an elegant black sedan pulled up and a tall, impeccably dressed man stepped out of it. It was Henry. The two men exchanged wary glances before Mark pulled a calculator from his pocket and handed it to Henry. The calculator was a true relic, its once shiny surface now scuffed from time. The buttons, however, still clicked with precision, a testament to its consistent quality. "I hope you like this calculator," Mark said, a mixture of nervousness and excitement in his voice. Henry nodded, his piercing gaze stopping on the calculator. "I have no doubt it's as wonderful as you claim," he replied with an enigmatic smile. "May I?" Mark nodded in agreement, his palms sweating slightly. The two of them got into the machine and Henry navigated the functions of the device masterfully, his fingers dancing on the buttons. Mark watched, holding his breath, hoping his cherished item would find a new home. After a few moments, Henry looked satisfied. He handed the calculator to Mark before he wrote something on it one last time. Mark's heart sank when he saw the words, "You have been kidnapped," materialize on the screen. A cold shiver ran down Mark's back, and before he could react, the car doors clicked open and automatically locked. Panic overwhelmed him as he realized the gravity of the situation. He banged on the window, his voice sounding desperate. "What have you done? Let me out." Henry remained unfazed, his expression strangely serene. "This is what can happen getting into someone else's car, isn't it scary?" he said to Mark. Mark's heart raced as he tried to comprehend the situation. Was this some twisted form of entertainment? A prank taken to the extreme? He didn't know what to do. Mark realized only one thing. He couldn't get out. Something very strange happened next. For about 20 minutes Henry and Mark sat in the closed car without a word. Mark was numb with fear and couldn't figure out what to do. After a long time, he said to the buyer, "You can have this calculator for free. Just let me out of here." Henry took the calculator and wrote another sentence, which he let Mark read. "Today I am kind. You seemed very sincere to me. You have 3 seconds to get out of here. Thank you for the calculator." Henry unlocked the machine again and Mark ran as fast as he could away from the place. This incident had served him well as a lesson to never get into other people's acquaintances, even supposed customers. In one quiet town, where the streets are framed by white palisades and children play in the courtyards, a sinister plot is unfolding that will destroy the facade of normality. Idyllic charm masked the tensions brewing within the walls of one seemingly ordinary house. Meet Sarah and David Miller, a couple who seemed to their neighbors to be the perfect marriage. David was a modest man with a well-groomed beard and a penchant for woodworking, and Sarah was an elegant woman with a passion for gardening. However, beneath the mask of marital happiness, a dark desire smoldered in David's mind. One evening, succumbing to the lure of anonymity, David wrote a post on Craigslist that would irrevocably change the course of their lives. His request was unfathomable. He was looking for a stranger willing to fulfill his wife's fantasy. It was as if his wife wanted some male stranger to take her by force. His justification was flawed and distorted. He thought that this act could somehow rekindle the spark in their relationship. His plea was met with shock and disgust, but amidst the sea of horrified responses, there was one man who saw an opportunity. His name was Alex, a man of mysterious origins, with a hard expression that hinted at a tumultuous life. Responding to David's unsettling offer, Alex agreed to play the part. The night came when the disturbing plan was to be put into action. Sarah was blissfully unaware of her husband's sinister machinations. As Alex entered their home, clothed in darkness and hidden intentions, he soon realized that Sarah was oblivious to the horrifying reality he had been tasked with bringing to fruition. With her gun hidden at her side, Sarah confronted the intruder with a strength born of fear and disbelief. The shock in her eyes was palpable as Alex stumbled and staggered, recoiling from the unexpected defiance before him, by a twist that even David couldn't have predicted. Fearing for her safety, Alex fled the Miller residence, his heart pounding in his chest. The ordeal shook Sarah but gave her strength. Her trust in David was irreparably damaged. Nevertheless, even in the face of such adversity, David remained steadfast, determined to see his vicious desires through to the end. Desperation drove David to seek out another willing participant, and he soon found a like-minded man named Mark. Mark's dark past made him cold and calculating, perfect for David's twisted plan. Little did David realize that this decision would push the limits of Sarah's resilience to the limit. On the night Mark was to arrive, Sarah's resolve remained unwavering. Her hands were steady as she clutched the gun, a symbol of her newfound strength. When Mark entered the house, a storm of emotions raged inside Sarah. She struggled to keep her composure, determined to protect herself at all costs. When Mark's intentions became unmistakably clear, Sarah's fear turned to steely determination. Keeping her finger on the trigger, she glared at the man who would ruin her life. The tension was palpable, a standoff between predator and prey, until the silence was broken by the wail of police car sirens. The cavalry arrived just in time, and the battle of wills in the Miller house came to an abrupt end. Mark was held up, a mixture of shock and defeat reflected on his face. And standing beside him was Sarah, her gun now lowered. After the nightmarish events that had unfolded, the truth had come out. David's twisted fantasies had been exposed, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. When the trials began, the facade of the Millers' perfect marriage crumbled. David was arrested, his secrets exposed for all to see. Sarah, a survivor in every sense, began the difficult journey of healing. The Miller family's story serves as a haunting reminder that even in the most picturesque of places, unimaginable darkness can lurk. In the heart of the sprawling metropolis of Urbanville, a place where tall skyscrapers tower over bustling streets, I found myself traveling in the unfamiliar territory of city life. Upon arriving in the city, I decided that my trusty car was no longer a necessity. Given the convenience of public transportation and the apparent difficulty of city parking, I put my faithful companion, a 6-year-old Honda Accord, up for sale. One sunny afternoon, I received a call from a man named James. He was just over 40, impeccably dressed, and acted warm and friendly. He expressed interest in the car, explaining that he wanted to buy it for his daughter who was in college. Our conversations on the phone calmed things down, and I agreed to meet with him to show him the car. When James arrived to personally inspect the car, I couldn't help but feel a mixture of excitement and apprehension. He was as pleasant in person as he was on the phone. After cordial introductions, he requested a test drive, to which I willingly accompanied him. During the inspection, he scrutinized every detail of the car, leaving no stone unturned. His thoroughness put me at ease, and during the test drive, we had conversations that further confirmed its authenticity. Negotiating the price was the next step, and although it took some time, we eventually settled on a price that was acceptable to both parties. James then made an unexpected request. He needed 2 days to raise the money and finalize the purchase. After some hesitation, I agreed to hold the car for him, refraining from selling it to other potential buyers. 2 days later, we reconvened in a quiet neighborhood. The sun was high in the sky, and there was a casual atmosphere around us. The final steps of the transaction were approaching. When James and I went for the final test drive, he handed me a cashier's check from Chase Bank, assuring me that it was a legitimate form of payment. With a sense of trust, I told him that we needed to go to the bank to cash the check and transfer ownership of the car. This is where the plot took an unexpected turn. While we were discussing the bank visit on the side of the road, James began to show signs of nervousness. While I found this odd, my previous interactions with him overshadowed any doubts. Nevertheless, I emphasized that I insisted on completing the transaction at the bank. Suddenly, James made a peculiar request for one more car inspection before heading to the bank. Despite my caution, I agreed, feeling safe in a public space. However, as we both got out of the car to take another look at it, James made a lightning move. He threw himself back into the driver's seat and rushed away, leaving me standing on the sidewalk, stunned, with the passenger door wide open. Panic set in as I first tried to catch up to the rushing car on foot, only to realize that I was no equal to its speed. In desperation, I begged a passerby to dial 911, my own cell phone forgotten in the whirlwind of events. Just as the passerby dialed, an unmarked police car pulled out of the alley just a few feet away. I rushed toward them, desperately recounting the recent events. Not thinking long, 2 officers in an undercover police car took me in. Realizing the urgency of the situation, although I begged them to pursue James and retrieve my car, they explained that they could not engage in a high-speed chase with a civilian on board. They assured me that they would relay the details to other officers in the vicinity via radio. As the minutes turned into hours, my sense of helplessness increased. The adrenaline began to subside, and the reality of the situation weighed heavily. The officers dropped me off at the police station where I wrote a statement and initiated an insurance claim. Over the next 3 months, I reviewed the insurance report, doing my best to make sure my intentions were transparent and honest. Just as the ordeal seemed to dissolve into a frustrating memory, an unexpected call came. It was the police, and they had news about my car. It had been located 3 states away. In the quiet town of Willowbrook, the sinister underside of human nature was about to be revealed. It was a place where everyone knew each other's names and life seemed idyllic. Among its residents were 2 women who could not have been more different. Sarah Collins, a dedicated school teacher with a heart of gold, and Amanda Walker, a reclusive woman who rarely left her dilapidated home. Little did they know that their lives were about to intertwine in a most unexpected and disturbing way. One cold fall afternoon, Sarah was browsing a local internet forum when a post caught her eye. It was a disturbing post from user Desperate Emma, who claimed to be 6 months pregnant and was offering to sell her unborn child. Shocked and appalled, Sarah continued reading. The frightening offer stipulated that payment could be made in drugs or cash and the baby had to be white. The post ended by demanding only serious proposals. The heart of Sarah, the teacher and compassionate soul, ached for the unborn child caught up in such a confusing scheme. She couldn't shake the disturbing message from her mind. She knew she had to do something, but the situation was too dangerous to handle alone. With a mixture of determination and fear, she decided to share her discovery with the only person she thought could help, Amanda Walker. Amanda was known for her knowledge of the city's hidden secrets and her ability to navigate the darker sides of human nature. Although she kept to herself, she was an astute observer of events in the city. Sarah nervously approached Amanda's house, her heart pounding as she knocked on the worn door. After a time that seemed like an eternity, Amanda opened the door. "What brings you here?" Amanda's voice was as cold as the fall wind that swept through the city. Sarah hesitated for a moment before she blurted out the shocking revelation she had stumbled upon. As the words escaped her lips, she saw the expression on Amanda's face change from curiosity to something more sinister. Amanda invited Sarah inside, already calculating the best plan of action. Together they formed an unexpected alliance, the compassionate teacher and the reclusive observer. They spent nights perusing an online forum, gathering all the information they could about Desperate Mommy. They reached out to contacts in the town's unofficial network looking for any leads that might help them uncover the truth behind the disturbing post. They discovered that Desperate Mom was actually an alias used by someone close to the city's underworld. The drugs and cash mentioned in the post weren't the only currencies at play. There were hidden agendas and ulterior motives that put the life of an unborn child at stake. In a heartbreaking climax, Sarah and Amanda confronted the inspiration behind the Desperate Mom post with a shocking revelation. In the end, their relentless pursuit of justice prevailed. The truth about the fate of the baby-to-be was revealed, and the criminals who were about to sell the baby for narcotics were brought to justice.